Good morning. David Cameron says not supporting a deal to rescue the euro was a tough decision, but the right thing to do for Britain. France and Germany rejected conditions set by Britain in the early hours of this morning at the European summit in Brussels. Well, our political editor Sue Jameson is there for us. Sue. Thousands of people have spent the night in sub-zero temperatures in eastern Turkey as rescue teams continue their search for survivors of Sunday's earthquake. The death toll stands at almost 300 now, with more than 1,000 people injured. This used to be the village of Arahama on the outskirts of Sendai. Now it's quite literally the end of the road. Even the damage done by one of the strongest earthquakes in history is nothing compared to this total wipeout. That's what a tsunami does. Then came the warning. OK, and now we're being told there's another tsunami on the way. Everyone's being cleared out of the way and we've really got to run. This evacuation was a false alarm. Japan's in a state of emergency and high anxiety. Well, the thing that hits you right between the eyes here in northeastern Japan is that in spite of the earthquake, in spite of the tsunami and in spite of the threat of total nuclear meltdown now, people here, yes, they're traumatised. Yes, of course, they are extremely anxious and frightened, but they are so calm, so collected, so patient and so polite. London burning again, this time suburban South London. And on Croydon's main high street at midnight, one of the most dangerous fires of all. 5 doors down from a bookie's blazing out of control. Locked behind this door, under the nose of police, a woman trapped. She'd been shouting for help for some time from a smoke-filled building.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Come out.
I just heard lots of people screaming.
Are your children upstairs, ma'am? Yeah? Do we need to get police? As ordinary families across London had their lives turned upside down, one masked teenager tried to explain the violence.
There's a lot of youth angry right about now, and that ain't good.
What are they angry about?
You're asking me. I've talked to one younger than me, and they're telling me they're not angry, they're not happy about the government, they're not happy about how they're being treated.
Cordelia has been talking to a number of senior security sources in the US. Claims that bin Laden was alive when he was captured and then killed. Cordelia, that's one of the lines kind of bandied around at the minute. Can you add or shed any light to that?
That's coming from bin Laden's daughter, who's being debriefed by the Pakistanis right now. I think the important question is, and this touches on it, was this a kill or a capture mission? And as I understand it from sources very senior, the kind of people who watched this operation go down live, there was a huge debate in the preceding weeks in the administration about whether this should be kill or capture. In the end, they did come down on the kill option, and just think about it, you know, they could have just shot a guided missile at the compound and obliterated everyone. The main reason I'm given to understand that they didn't do that was simply because they wanted to be able to identify positively Osama bin Laden's body. 3 hours now since the parade passed through here and the streets of Ardoin are still burning. And by midnight, rioters were down to the hardcore, burning cars and gas canisters. The riots at Belfast's notorious Ardoin shops were the most serious in 24 hours of violence across Northern Ireland. Petrol bombs, bricks and a blast bomb were thrown by nationalists, angry that loyalists were allowed to march through their streets. Police turned water cannon on the crowds and shot plastic bullets at masked teenagers rioting from the rooftops. The Orangemen want to walk down this road to meet their loyalist crowds, waiting for them at the top there. But this is a Catholic area. The police are holding most of the crowds back. But these guys are sitting on the road and they're determined to stop the marchers. But one by one, the protesters were removed by force and the Orangemen marched home. From the sidelines, Sinn Féin's Jerry Kelly, a former IRA bomber, blamed dissident Republicans.
People of Ardoin do not want Reading. They do not want their area destroyed. They do not want their young people hit by plastic bullets, and they certainly do not want rats.
Rioters have been accused by police and Republicans alike of orchestrating this violence against the will of most residents.
All the big guns there, aren't they?
Well, they're here, but one sure sign that the Labour Party really doesn't know what to make of this at this stage is that Lord Mandelson, Alistair Campbell are in the building, but they haven't come down to the press room yet to start spinning this result. The only conclusion we can draw is they simply don't know what to say at this stage because they're not usually so shy. A lot of gloom around this morning about 77 lost Labour seats, some confusion about whether they're going to be involved in the next government, and some relief, it must be said, that although Labour is down this morning, they are not out, and Gordon Brown, right now, is still Prime Minister.
We are building a manufacturing future for Britain.
Hard hat, safety goggles, heavy machinery. The message here is unmistakable. Here is a tough guy for tough times. People are finding it, frankly, very difficult to understand still at this point why you haven't called for an immediate ceasefire.
No, but when people call for an immediate ceasefire, do they mean on both sides?
Will you miss the President? What will you miss about him? And for the President, what will you miss about Tony Blair? And what are you looking for in an eventual replacement?
I'll miss those red ties is what I'll miss. I'll say one thing, he answered the question, don't count him out.
British and American armies are spread out across the northern Kuwaiti desert around me as far as the eye can see. Those troops are this morning standing ready and waiting for orders.
A few minutes after that, gas, 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 the words we've all heard so often in drills. This time it was for real.
They've taken all the money they could out of the bank now, but there's one vault left that they couldn't get into. The troops just hoping if they couldn't, no one else can. A 7 a.m. alarm call like no other. Wilma roars ashore. So as hotel staff hold the windows up, we head back inside. OK, it's frightening now. We're in a corridor deep inside the hotel. It's windy. The wind, in fact, just blew this wall clean in. This is the kind of place they tell you to come when it gets rough outside for your own safety. Well, now it's getting rough inside. So this is what the height of a Category 3 hurricane looks like. It's what thousands of people go down, and that's a very large explosion. This is where we've been doing our live reports. Have a look. What happens when you try and get in. The pressure, the wind pressure from the storm just makes getting in and out of doors pretty difficult indeed. Then suddenly, just after 11, the wind drops. The good news is the hotel's still standing, but it looks like I've missed breakfast. At its height, the water completely covered that car. You can see the tide marks there. As it recedes, people are returning home to face very obvious dangers. That tree speaks for itself, and here, that wire is one of the area's main power lines. But despite these perils, the owner of this house is staying put. In fact, he's still sleeping directly under this tree.
This limb here, if it would have been facing it different, it would have maybe laid it down, but it just laid it right on the corner here, thank God, because, and I think that's why it's holding it up, because it's on the two corners, you see.
And that's your bedroom below it?
This is my bedroom, yeah.
Some say this city will never be the same, but in the only bar open on Bourbon Street, the good old boys are still drinking whiskey and rye.
Never closed. That's 14 years old. Many hurricanes have come over. This was the worst.
Protected from looters by paratroopers with a shoot-to-kill policy and a grim search and rescue to begin at first light. The child mobs of Ardoyne hit a new low. Petrol bombs in the face of their parish priest. They're starting again. How can you keep this under control?
Well, it's almost impossible to keep it under control because it takes a life of its own now.
There's no respect here and no shame. What you got planned for tonight?
A rat, the petrol bomb all the cops.
Petrol bombs?
Yep. Kill them all.
Kill them all? Standing on that corner right over there are convicted IRA terrorists trying to stop these kids causing trouble, and they're just ignoring them.